Welcome back to Actual English, everyone. I'm Jennifer Clyde. It's time for lesson 386, and we're going to start a brand new week with brand new topics requested by you out there. So we have titled it or named our lessons Viewer's Choice. Now it's Viewer's Choice 1 today, and the requested topic was hairstyles. All right, so many of you may have wondered how you can hold a conversation when talking about hairstyles. We'll do exactly that today. There are tons and tons of different hairstyles out there for men and women. There are hairstyle trends that change quite frequently. Do you remember what the hairstyle trend was back in the 80s, perhaps the 70s or 90s? I remember how my hair used to be when I was in high school. Back then, this was probably in the 90s, early 90s, and we would spray our hair with hairspray. So there was a lot of gel and mousse and hairspray in our hair. We would tease our hair, meaning to make it stand up like that. So our bangs would be standing up very high up into the sky. It was stylish back then, but if you take a look at some hairstyles, you look at pictures and say, oh my goodness, what was I thinking? Anyhow, we've got great expressions waiting for us in today's actual talk conversation, so let's take a listen to it first.
Hey, what do you think about the trends these days so far as hair goes?
Wow, there's so many. I really like them. I like the hair that's kind of a little bit messy on the top and it's split at the side. And
funky?
Yeah, kind of funky. I think that's kind of smart looking. Personally, I like that.
That's called a shag cut, right?
Is it really?
I think when it's long and has that intentional messy look,
Sure.
it might be called a shag.
But combed over, so quiff a little bit. I think that's quite cool. That can fit all age groups because I'm older, you know.
Oh, well, come on. I'm a little conservative. I kind of favor a crew cut on gentlemen.
Sure,
But
yeah.
I've noticed some interesting trends. The one with half the head shaved for women and then long hair on the other side, I've noticed.
Yeah, that's really an eclectic mix of hairstyles, isn't it? All in one.
That's popular in Canada and in America. A lot of celebrities have that.
Sure.
I don't know if it can really last here because it means inevitably you have to shave your head, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
And then there's a kind of shaggy one they have in Korea with the brush down, the fringe, and a lot of young people have that. I can't get away with that, but
that reminds me a lot of the boy bands and the girl bands. But I guess for me, I feel like if you can pull it off, then pull it off by all means. I'm finding that I want to cover every gray hair I find.
I'm exactly the same.
I don't know if that's a weakness or a plus.
I'm the same. And then as you get older, your hair changes and goes a bit wild and crazy. And it's easier to keep it short, low maintenance, you know.
I kind of like a change. That's one thing that's cool is we can always change our hair.
Yeah, absolutely. As long as you have some.
Yes.
Yes, a lot of bald Irish men out there. I'm very lucky.
That's okay.
Yeah.
As you may have noticed already, this week's topics, requested by all of our viewers out there, are pretty light, so you could comfortably listen to the lecture, the lessons, the conversations, and of course our lag segment, actual story. So just relax and enjoy the lessons. Today we're talking about hairstyles once again, and we had Kelly and Gareth helping us out. They talked about a few different hairstyles, such as a crew cut, fringe, shaggy style. What else was there? There was, baldness, where Gareth mentioned bald, how he's happy that he's not bald, or he's lucky that he's not bald at the very end of the conversation. But let's take you through the conversation together. Okay, here we go. Now, Kelly says, hey, what do you think about the trends these days? So she's asking about what he thinks about the trends regarding what? So far as hair. Okay, so she's asking about hairstyle trends, but what is so far as? Now, this basically means to the degree of something or to the extent of something, but simply put, we often say as far as something. So far as is the equivalent of as far as. So as far as something goes, basically meaning as far as hairstyles go. Okay? Concerning hairstyles, regarding hairstyles is a simple way to approach it. So her question is, what do you think about hairstyle trends these days? All right. And Gareth says, wow, there are so many. I like the hair or hairstyle that's kind of a little bit messy. So it's not tidy, not neat. Messy is the opposite of neat and tidy, right? So it's a little bit messy on the top and it's split at the side. So it's messy on the top and it's split, meaning divided at the side. Can you imagine which hairstyle he's talking about? So he's talking about a hairstyle that's not very neat. It's kind of messy on the top, okay? It's messy and it's split at the side, divided at the side. I have no clue what he's talking about, but let's move on. Here we go. Now, Kelly says funky. Okay. Now, funky could have several different meanings. Funky could be used in the negative, okay? If you say that something is funky, as in an odor, a smell, you're saying that something smells bad. Ah, that smells funky. It means it smells bad. It's a bad odor. It smells strange, weird. But funky could be used to express something positive, such as something that is very fashionable or stylish or cool, okay? So I think she's using it in the positive, meaning something that's different, weird, but in a good way, meaning cool, okay? Funky, cool, yeah, kind of funky. I think that's kind of smart looking, okay? The hairstyle that he's talking about, he thinks, looks smart. And he says, personally, I like that. Now, here we go. Kelly says, that's called a shag cut, I think, when it's long and has that intentional messy look. So she's talking about a shag or a shag cut. She explains that it's kind of long and it's intentionally messy. All right. So these two words are some words you need to pay attention to when talking about shag. So a shag is basically a hairstyle that's, as Gareth mentioned, it's messy, okay? It's not very neat, not tidy. It's kind of uneven, all right? So the front and the back may be a bit longer than the sides. It's basically kind of a messy look with overlapping layers. So if there are many layers and it's overlapping and you have uneven lengths of hair, that's a shag or shaggy cut, okay? Let's move on. And he says, but combed over. So it's not exactly very, very messy, but it's combed over. So it's kind of neat. So a little bit of a quiff, he says. I've added cut for you because quiff is often used with cut as well. Because quiff not only has to do with hairstyles, but some other things as well. So quiff cut, what he's talking about, I looked this up actually, and I think quiff cuts, more men tend to have quiff cuts than women. So if you look at, say for example, the movie Grease, okay, from a long, long, long time ago. Now, the men used to have a lot of bangs, right? So a very heavy lock of hair or heavy curl of hair, and they would kind of wear it up. Okay, so it's lots of hair, lots of locks of hair or curls of hair that's kind of held up. That's a quiff cut, I think, okay? And he says, I think that's quite cool. That can fit all age groups, meaning that people in their 20s, 30s, 50s, even 70s will look good with that haircut. And he says, because I'm older, he's interested in that hairstyle. Here we go. Kelly says, oh, well, I'm a little conservative, okay? And she says, I kind of favor meaning like, a crew cut on gentlemen, okay? On gentlemen. So she basically likes this hairstyle on men, okay? women don't exactly get crew cuts. I guess you could walk into a hairstylist, or you could tell a hairstylist, I want a crew cut, but usually men get crew cuts. Now, a crew cut is a very, very short hairstyle, okay? I'll show you some synonyms you can use in place of crew cut. But basically, it's a haircut where your hair is very short all around. Very short hairstyle. But I've noticed some interesting trends, she says. The one with half the head shaved for women, and then long hair on the other side. Okay, so do you have an idea what she's talking about? I have seen women with this hairstyle. One of my friends actually had this hairstyle. So what she did to her hair was, she shaved one side of her head, okay? So half the head shaved. One side of the head is shaved very, very short, and the other side is left very long, okay? That is the hairstyle she's talking about. Now, Garrett says, yeah, that's really an eclectic mix of hairstyles, isn't it? Now, eclectic basically means that it varies, okay? There are many different kinds of things, okay? It's varied, diversified. So he's saying that it's a kind of a combination, okay? A combination of this and that. Eclectic, we'll take a look at some synonyms later on as well. Anyhow, she says that's popular in Canada and in America. A lot of celebrities have that, meaning that hairstyle. And I don't know if it can really last a year. Now here, last a year basically means what? She's saying that she's not sure if people that decide to get this haircut, shaved on one side and left long on the other, if they could actually keep that hairstyle for 1 year, okay? She's not sure if it can really last a year. Why? Because it means you have to shave your head, right? That's right. So you have to keep shaving your head, one side of your head, over and over and over again as it grows out. Of course, Garrett says, and then there's the kind of shaggy one they have in Korea with it brushed down. Here we go, shaggy. We talked about shag, right? The shag cut or the shag style. It's also called shaggy style. But he's talked about something else, the fringe or fringe cut. Fringe. Fringe, let's say, for example, when you're talking about fabric, let's say a blanket, for example, or curtains, or a tablecloth. Now, at the edge of the tablecloth or blanket or curtain, there are tassels, like threads hanging down from it. That's a fringe, okay? But we're talking about hairstyles. So when you say a fringe related to hairstyles or fringe cut, we're talking about a hairstyle where women especially have bangs, okay? Bangs, but not light bangs, heavy bangs, meaning lots of hair in the front. And it's cut right below the eyebrows, okay? So it's a very heavy look, heavy bang look, okay? That's a fringe cut. That's what he's talking about. And then he says, a lot of young people have that. I can't get away with that. I cannot get away with that. What does he mean by this? He's saying that this style will not suit him. He will look terrible with a fringe cut or in a fringe cut. He says, but what do you think? Okay, let's take a look at what Kelly says. That reminds me of a lot of the boy bands and the girl bands. But I guess for me, she says, for me personally, for Kelly, I feel like if you can pull it off, then pull it off by all means. Now, pull something off basically means to get something done, okay? He pulled that job off pretty well. It means he did that job very well. But here she's saying, you know, I'm not sure if it's the best hairstyle for me, but if you can pull it off, if you look good in it, then go ahead and get that hairstyle, okay, or that haircut. And she says, I'm finding that I want to cover every gray hair I find. Now, pay attention to this. In Korean, we say 흰머리, right? Because it's white hair. But often we don't say white hair. Often. In, I guess, Canada or America or even in Europe, okay? Even in the UK, for example, we don't call it white hair, but we say gray hair, okay? Gray hair. And she says she wants to cover every gray hair she finds. So, oh no, gray hair already growing, Kelly. Okay, moving on. Now, Gareth finally says, I'm exactly the same. So he's also very concerned about his gray hair that's growing out, okay? Starting to grow out. And then as you get older, your hair changes and goes a bit wild and crazy. Goes wild and crazy. What is he talking about? Of course, our hair becomes brittle, okay? As we age, our hair, it becomes very thin, becomes very brittle, damaged, okay, splits very easily. It's not as healthy. So that's what he's talking about. And he says wild and crazy, meaning that it's not easy to style, okay? And it's easier to keep it short, low maintenance, you know? Okay. Now, when you say low maintenance, what does it mean? The opposite is high maintenance. We're talking about low maintenance. If you say that something or someone is low maintenance, you're saying that you don't necessarily have to care for it that much, okay? If you have to care for something a lot, then it or that person would be high maintenance. We'll practice that later on with a sentence, all right? Okay, moving on. That's one thing that's cool. We can always change our hair. That's right, we can always change our hair. Finally, Gareth says, yeah, as long as you have some. As long as you have some hair, you can change it. You can do whatever you want to do with it. And he says, a lot of bald Irishmen out there, I feel very lucky. Now, what is bald? You may already know, but bald basically means having no hair or having very little hair. Usually, men are bald, but baldness is found in women as well. I'm sure you know what that word means, okay? We'll review it in just a bit, but for now, let's take a listen to the conversation one more time.
Hey, what do you think about the trends these days so far as hair goes?
Wow, there's so many. I really like them. I like the hair that's kind of a little bit messy on the top and it's split at the side. And
funky?
Yeah, kind of funky. I think that's kind of smart looking. Personally, I like that.
That's called a shag cut, right?
Is it really?
I think when it's long and has that intentional messy look,
sure,
it might be called a shag.
But combed over, so quiff a little bit. I think that's quite cool. That can fit all age groups because I'm older, you know.
Oh well, I'm a little conservative. I kind of favor a crew cut on gentlemen.
Sure,
but
yeah.
I've noticed some interesting trends. The one with half the head shaved for women and then long hair on the other side, I've noticed.
Yeah, that's really an eclectic mix of hairstyles, isn't it?
That,
all in one.
That's popular in Canada and in America. A lot of celebrities have that.
Sure.
I don't know if it can really last here because it means inevitably you have to shave your head, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
And then there's a kind of shaggy one they have in Korea with the brush down, the fringe, and a lot of young people have that. I can't get away with that, but...
That reminds me a lot of the boy bands and the girl bands. But I guess for me, I feel like if you can pull it off, then pull it off by all means. I'm finding that I want to cover every gray hair I find.
I'm exactly the same.
I don't know if that's a weakness or a plus.
I'm the same. And then as you get older, your hair changes and goes a bit wild and crazy. And it's easier to keep it short, low maintenance, you know.
I kind of like a change. That's one thing that's cool is we can always change our hair.
Yeah, absolutely. As long as you have some.
Yes.
Yes, a lot of bald Irish men out there. I'm very lucky.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Welcome back, everyone. It's time for us to review the vocab words and the patterns. It's time for actual expressions. Okay, let's take you straight into it. Take a look at some vocab words. First of all, we have funky. Funky, stress goes on the first syllable, and as I told you, it can mean positive and negative. Positive, cool, Hip, which is another word for cool, fashionable. What about kind of negative words? Strange, weird, okay? So funky could have a negative feel and a positive feel to it. Now, what is a shag? Shag means rough, okay? So a shag hairstyle or shaggy cut means that that person's hair is cut unevenly, all right? It's uneven. What about quiff? Now, this is a British expression, okay? We're talking about how you have very heavy locks of bangs, okay? That's kind of, worn down over your forehead or even up at times. Think about the movie Grease, as I told you. Moving on to crew or crew cut, we're talking about a very, very short hairstyle, usually for men. It's also called a burr cut, buzz cut, because you almost shave everything off. Buzz, you use that machine. Buzz cut, close cropped or even flat top. Okay, crew cut. Eclectic means what? Diverse, varied, wide-ranging. Okay, meaning that it comes from many different sources. Okay, it's wide-ranging. And then moving on, fringe. Okay, we're talking about what? Having heavy bangs. Now, fringe could also mean bangs. Okay, the hair that we have on the front, amori. That's what we call bangs. So it's very heavy bangs. What about bald or baldness? We're talking about having no hair or little hair. Bald-headed is another way of putting it. Okay, quickly, here we go to our first pattern. So far as means as far as. So far as I know, or as far as I know, that hairstyle doesn't suit her at all. That hairstyle looks terrible on her is another way of putting it. What about the next one? Pull something off means to get something done, right? Okay. Do you think you can pull off something like that on your own, meaning by yourself? Do you think you can pull off something like that on your own? Meaning, do you think you can do something like that by yourself, on your own? And finally, we have low maintenance and high maintenance. Low maintenance means you don't really have to care much about it. But if you really need to keep your eyes on something and care a lot about something or someone, high maintenance. Here we go. I couldn't keep up with all of her needs. She wanted this, she wanted that. She was sort of the high maintenance type. One more time. She was sort of the high maintenance type, meaning that she required much care. Everything needed to be done for her. Okay, everyone, practice these expressions and vocab words more on your own.
Anyone who knows me knows that I like to change my hair often. I get bored with it very, very easily. So I often cut it or change the color. I like to switch it up and try new things. Right now I just have simple black hair, nothing too special, but it kind of matches the weather outside. I prefer long hair, but I'm not opposed to having short hair either. That's okay as well. These days the trend is to dye your hair bright colors. A lot of people have pink, purple, and blue hair, both girls and boys. Even these days, boys have pink hair. Also, another trend is for girls to shave the side of their head. It's a pretty interesting trend, but I don't know if it would look so good on me. But there's a lot of different hairstyles out there, a lot of funky hairstyles, but for now, I just try to go simple and basic hairstyle. This is what works well for me now.
All right, that was Whitney helping us out. She's from America. It's time for a final segment, Actual Story. Now, that reminds me, she did mention that she gets sick of hairstyles very easily. I've seen her with different hairstyles even on this show, right? So here we go. She says, I like to change my hair often, or I like to change my hairstyle often. I get bored with it very easily. Get bored with something, get sick of something. So she likes to change her hairstyle often. What does she do? She often cuts it or changes the color. She dyes her hair, for example. And she says, I like to switch it up, meaning change it, and try new things. She likes to try new hairstyles. I prefer long hair, but I'm not opposed to having short hair. So she's not opposed to something, meaning she doesn't really mind. She's not saying that short hair is bad, but she just prefers long hair. She likes long hair better, okay? And then finally, these days the trend is to dye your hair bright colors, meaning change your hair color. So to color it with bright colors. Another trend is for girls to shave the side of their head. This is exactly what Kelly was talking about, right? So shave one side of the head and leave the other very long. So there are many different trends when it comes to hairstyles, and it constantly changes. So what kind of hairstyle would you like to have or get? Let's take a listen one more time.
Anyone who knows me knows that I like to change my hair often. I get bored with it very, very easily. So I often cut it or change the color. I like to switch it up and try new things. Right now I just have simple black hair, nothing too special, but it kind of matches the weather outside. I prefer long hair, but I'm not opposed to having short hair either. That's okay as well. These days the trend is to dye your hair bright colors. A lot of people have pink, purple, and blue hair, both girls and boys. Even these days, boys have pink hair. Also, another trend is for girls to shave the side of their head. It's a pretty interesting trend, but I don't know if it would look so good on me. But there's a lot of different hairstyles out there, a lot of funky hairstyles, but for now, I just try to go simple and basic hairstyle. This is what works well for me now.
I thought if only we could have illustrations and pictures and images we can show you with all different kinds of hairstyles. It would have been so much easier for you to understand, right? Well, maybe next time when we do get the chance. So today we talked about hairstyles, which was a requested topic. Next time we'll move on to another requested topic. We'll be talking about Oriental medicine, also called Chinese medicine, as well as acupuncture. Okay, it'll be an interesting lesson, so please do tune in for that. In the meanwhile, come to our homepage, everyone. Come on over to www.ebse.co.kr. Look for Actual English with Jennifer. And if you have any thoughts you want to share, post them up on our message board. Okay, that is all the time we have for today's lesson, everyone. But thanks for joining me. I'll have to say goodbye. Okay, until I see you again next time, take good care and bye for now.